49 seconds of 3 logos. I am so fucking sick of fucking logos, man. This used to mean something. God damn, Sam, take a movie off. You don't have to appear in everything. News article tells us that people have long known about peculiars, but this is definitely not the case during the rest of the movie. So unless this is a clipping from the Daily Prophet, it's some bullshit. What the f***? Did they just peculiarize fucking Santa Claus? I know he's a real person and all, but doesn't it sound like Ransom Riggs is the name of a character Mel Gibson would put in his next movie?
Do you ever feel like nothing you do matters?
All the time, given Hollywood's remake sequel machine. Thanks for asking. Also, peculiaration.
It's not safe. Stay away.
Well, it's also not safe to have an extremely visible annotated map of all the secret loop entrances, but f*** it, I guess we'll get to that later.
That guy gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Shelley is largely unconcerned with the sudden apparition that appeared in the middle of the goddamn road.
Grandpa?
Oh no, Grandpa's been ransacked, and suddenly this movie is way more national treasure than it wants to be.
Someone broke in.
I got a 38 in my car. You wait there.
Even in the age of cell phones, movie characters will go to great lengths to not immediately call the police at a crime scene. Trevor, how many times have I told you? Kid sees a bloody flashlight and grabs it. Blood, fence that only Godzilla could have wrecked this badly. Let's examine this further. Grandpa has either a bloody carving fork or a bloody tuning fork in his hand, and the fact that I don't care says a lot about this mystery.
Grandpa.
You have to get away from here.
How is he still alive enough to give the cryptic instructions? Everyone else that this happens to in this movie is dead as shit.
But the bird will explain everything.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That's actually what I expected you to say. I was expecting that.
I thought I could protect you.
Asa Butterfield isn't acting here. He's genuinely concerned his co-star has had a stroke. Hence the super authentic concerned, what's going on right now face.
I should have told you years ago.
Father figure of character with all the important information dies before getting it all out cliche. Also, this movie is giving me way more John Carter flashbacks than I think it should be. Maybe I just have John Carter PTSD or something.
Considering this was only a month ago, I think you're doing exceptionally well.
Holy shit, they got him right into counseling after the death of a loved one. Even if the doctor is actually an evil hollow in disguise, that's actually pretty fantastic. So I'll remove one sin.
But they DNA tested before, and it had animal DNA. So that's case closed.
He sounds like an extraordinary gentleman.
Maybe he was, but why the f*** would Samuel L. Janney say this after the coroner DNA comment, which had nothing to do with his character and everything to do with his murder?
Were you very close?
Footage indicates that yes, they were close, as Grandpa regaled grandson with tales of treasure and... Wait a minute, I'm getting National Treasure vibes here again.
That's where I hid from the monsters.
Telling a kid this age stories like this, regardless of truth, this is f***ed up. Kids this age need stories about fairies and talking animals and Jesus, not monsters in another dimension.
I'm gonna be an explorer.
Everything's already been discovered, buddy.
F*** you, Dad.
The headmistress, Miss Peregrine, it was a home for special children.
That's special children and not gifted youngsters because we don't want to get our Fox properties confused. This is the exact opposite of an orgy of evidence that this is a boy's room. We have a couple of dinosaur figures near the lamp base, a few personal drawings, a random panda, and a detailed world map. This kid either hates sports or was literally Niles Crane. Or both. This is the cleanest f***ing elementary school classroom I've ever seen. You're telling me not one of these kids has moved their composition books from the upper left corner of their desk, even accidentally?
It's from your grandpa.
And given it's your birthday, I'm guessing Grandpa's gift is about to kickstart the plot. At least, I f***ing hope it does.
There's just one hotel. I hope there's bourbon.
Howdy there, Roland Emmerich cliche dad. Have a drink, why don't you? I like how this movie's hero basically takes a tugboat to the island place of script conflict. Here's a place of business named the Priest Hole. World War whatever wall pictures paint a picture of the what the f***ing hell is that horrifying shit? Laugh scare.
I was just wondering if any of you guys might be interested in taking my son here to the other side of the island.
I get he's got issues, but what kind of father travels to an island with his son, then dumps him off on the first group of street locals he comes across?
We're the sickest rappers in Wales.
What happens when UK teens watch 8 Mile for the first time?
Sorry?
What the hell kind of bog-based fraternity prank is this? Ha ha ha, you're new and you don't know this territory, so we'll make you step in a sinkhole of oil. Ha ha ha, God, we're hilarious, right? Okay, this part of the story takes place in the present day, so why the f*** didn't Jake Google Maps this place? Or at least call someone in the area before making the goddamn trip from Florida to Wales? Even if this island's primitive, they've got f***ing phones.
You need to talk about all this with someone, buddy.
Like you?
We should call Dr. Golan.
Oh, so not you. This clock reminds me that it's almost 25 minutes into this movie about peculiar children, and all I can think about is how f***ing boring it is. A giant motherfucking bomb fell through the roof of this room, but the glassware is still intact. That must have been very selective about its destructive abilities. Hilariously, this stumble apparently knocks him out cold, and Roger Goodell immediately issued a statement denying football had anything to do with it. Look, if I woke up in the arms of a female toddler carrying me, I'd flip the f*** out, so kudos to this kid for keeping his calm. Also, these two face-covered fuckers. God damn, you'd be creepy enough without the drawn-on eyebrows. God damn, you creepy creepos. Millard's supposed to be invisible, not ethereal, so why doesn't this mist reveal the shape of his face? Activating the portal sounds like the first track on a Spooky Sounds for Halloween CD. Like many before him, Jake runs away from scary adventure back to the creepy loving arms of the priest hole.
He's American.
Listen to his accent. He's a spy.
Movie has time for this. Of course, it's a 2-hour-long movie, so it has time for virtually anything. Jesus, he's invisible, not Quicksilver. How's Millard getting to all this dinnerware so quickly? Did Olive literally just torch the pub? There's still like 40 people in there. Holy shit, these peculiar children are secretly nihilists.
It is 1943.
September the 3rd, 1943.
All day, every day. It's our loop.
So this is a magic-infused World War II Groundhog Day? Because that's an awesome idea, but you still made this movie somehow.
Right on time.
Between the stylized hair, the pale complexion, and the exaggerated accent in a Tim Burton movie, it's clear Ava Green has become the female Johnny Depp. Miss Peregrine's home for secondhand smoke inhalation.
There are very few things I can't explain.
For example, what happened to Tim Burton's career after Ed Wood?
Some people are peculiar. It's a recessive gene carried down through families.
Since that territory's never been covered before.
I'm a type of peculiar called an imbrine. An imbrine's main skill is the manipulation of time. We choose a safe place, a safe day, and create a loop.
This is the exact day their house is bombed, though. I know she can stop it before it happens, but there must be thousands of other days that are safer, right? It is pretty nice that they can get by with just one giant carrot instead of a bunch of smaller ones, but peeling that motherfucker's gonna be a bitch. This movie's Home for Peculiar Children prominently features an apple tree, immediately making me suspect of the entire enterprise.
And that's you.
Damn, Hugh's an asshole. He unleashes the same bee power for a pickup soccer game that he later uses in a life or death situation.
Miss Peregrine, there's a policeman at the door. He says it's about the pub.
We'll discuss this later, Emma.
It wasn't their fault.
This movie's laziness. Emma literally told Miss Peregrine what happened at the pub as soon as they returned. Then Miss Peregrine told Jake she expected some kerfuffle before they headed back. But now suddenly Emma's in trouble. Jake takes the blame, so we have some manufactured warmth between the two of them.
Would you mind tying that rope around my waist?
Sorry. All I heard was my waist. You want me to do what now? Also, lest you think I'm being pervy for bringing this up, just look at how this movie chose to shoot this scene. Also, the only way Jake would need to get this close to Emma to tie this rope is if he were training to be the next Christian Grey.
Promise to hold on tight.
I know they're all getting along well, but Emma is putting a massive amount of trust into a dude she just met. One slip of the rope and she's f***ed. What reason would Emma have to put this squirrel back in the tree, except to show off her powers? It's a f***ing squirrel. It wants to climb back up in the tree. It's what they do. Also, he's totally looking up her dress right now as a matter of function, even if he's not turned on. He basically has to look up her dress to bring her down safely.
Was he like you?
He was like you, Jake.
We'll continue to assume Jake has abilities without specifically acknowledging the abilities. It wouldn't be a Tim Burton movie if we didn't have a nightmarish steampunk lobster baby doll.
Do you want to see the fun part?
The first rule about doll-based Fight Club is you don't talk about doll-based Fight Club. One doll has a lobster hand, but the other has a full-on goddamn kitchen knife. This is an unfair fight. How does this not happen at every meal then? God damn it, this movie just yearns to bust its nut on shitty effects whenever it can. Peculiar? No, this is downright unnatural and wrong, and this girl should be in a foster home for f***ing demons.
I think you should all get ready for movie time while I answer that.
Dinner's lasted less than 3 f***ing minutes, but f*** it, let's move on to the next scene. Dame Judi Dench is all, am I in a f***ing dream? And thus the film budget was increased by however much Judi Dench demanded, which wasn't a lot, and then just continued as normal. This reinforces the point that this was a stupid day to pick for the Imbrine time gobbledygook, and was selected only to synthesize some tension. Why would the record play forward when time is still going backward? If you're gonna do something like this movie, f***ing do it right.
What was that?
It was my phone.
Movie is almost an hour in, and the only conflict we've had was way back when the limey got his eyes ripped out. It's amazing that a story about kids with magical abilities is so goddamn dull.
You might even show them this photograph, and I'll still be here.
They should have called this movie Miss Spiderwick's School for Unfortunate Wimpy Potters.
Where are you going?
Downstairs for a drink.
And I will need my heavy parka for that. No f***ing way. They've had time to get all the way from the school to the hotel, be accosted by the farmer, get settled into the room, make a phone call to the therapist, and have an argument. If everything ages after a few minutes when it's out of the loop, like Emma said earlier, this flower should be literally f***ing dust right now.
If I recall, Miss Avocet has a loop there. Please warn her and suggest that she make a new one right away.
Once again, if they can build new loops whenever they want, why wouldn't they do it more often, for safety and variety? I f***ing hate these loops. These white-eyed motherfuckers are right in the middle of a f***ing crowd, and they have their picture taken, but no one notices at all.
Marvelous to meet a fellow bird spotter.
Look, I like birds as much as the next guy, probably more, but this movie is supposed to be about peculiar children. I can't believe I'm actually looking forward to seeing this dude eventually become Samuel L. Jackson's generic movie villain.
What's the point?
Dad perfectly sums up the first half of this movie.
She, not it. Imbrines are always female.
Then how do they procreate?
I found him in the woods with his eyes missing.
And I'm just telling you this right now, even though it's really the first thing I should have said upon meeting you.
I asked you not to ask questions.
Goddamn someone tell him what the is going on! We're over an hour into the movie. This boating excursion brings up yet another question about how far they can go from the home. Presumably Miss Peregrine's clock applies to the kids themselves, not the island. So couldn't they just wander off anywhere, then come back before the clock resets? My point is, these kids are immortal, but they do the same damn thing every day. Oh yeah, I also have this awesome ability that has nothing to do with my floaty thing, but I won't tell you about it until you've risked your life trying to save me. Emma's shoes are barely heavy enough to offset her floatitude on land, so should not be able to weight her down this much in deep water. Apparently, these people just sat here patiently at their dinner table while they waited to die as the ship sank, even though it reportedly took 18 hours to sink. Of course, this girl is wearing all white after the waterlogging, because what good is a middling movie about magic aimed at preteens without a little wet t-shirt action?
If I tell you the rest, you have to promise not to run away.
Movie briefly speaks to the audience that's collectively fighting off a coma.
I'm just ordinary.
No, you're not.
Main character in a movie about special people says this bullshit with less than half the movie left to go.
Jake, only a peculiar can enter a time loop.
Movie jargons you into submission. Miss Peregrine kills this hollow every day in 1943. The loop continues, but so does regular time. And the hollow definitely dies on this day. So you mean in the next 73 years, neither Barron nor the other evil peculiars have realized this asshole was missing and came to investigate?
We call them Holocaust.
Because we're terrible at coming up with names for things.
I will explain everything, Jake.
It'll occur around halfway through the movie's 4th hour.
He kidnapped an Imbrine, not knowing or caring whether she would survive the experiment.
Scientist Barron forgets how to science in this experiment and subjects all these assholes to the Imbrine transfer instead of just one at a time. Jesus Christ, I've seen better effects in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that was 1981.
The rest of them are stuck as hollows.
He needs no more eyes himself.
Okay, there were only 11 people that were turned into hollows, and at least 5 of them are pretty much human now. One is dead because Miss Peregrine keeps killing it in 1943, so there are only 5 left that need to be converted. This brings up the question, shouldn't they have more carefully dispensed that eyeball orgy they had? Or shouldn't they have found enough in the ensuing years to help out the few that were left?
The children. I tried to save them, but there were so many hollows. I don't know how I escaped.
Miss Avocet punches another hole in the hollow lore. If her kids were consumed, then there should be plenty of eyeballs to convert the rest of them back to human form. This dude was blind as so whichever hollow got to him got some bullshit eyeballs. Movie takes Goonies ending and adds a what if there was still shit to figure out ending onto it, leading to this father-son beach chase.
Dr. Dalton?
Sometimes, when it suits me.
And I guess we'll add shape-shifting powers to Barron's bag of tricks, which no one else can do, because why the not? Even after crazy-eyed Samuel L. Jackson shows up with a goddamn knife for a hand, movie continues to be mind-numbing. Here's Invisible Boy, closing some shutters, continuing to be utterly wasted by this movie. Jake has a clean shot here, but realizes there's another 30 minutes left in this thing and refuses to mercifully shorten the runtime. Emma can float and control air, but will be dangerously sliding down a wet roof in this scene. Listen, I don't even care if somehow making a sunken ship seaworthy is something that Emma can do. I just wish there would have been some indication that her powers were this impressive. Ship that still has a massive hole in it is able to float effortlessly, and the waterlogged coal is able to burn as fuel. That's science, kids.
There's a loop here in Blackpool. With Miss Avocet gone, won't the loop close?
Why hasn't it already? Miss Avocet's been away from it at least a day. God damn, now the movie is making me actively, cognitively engaged with why I hate it.
If we kill Barron, he'll be gone, but time will carry on. He won't go to Florida. Abe won't die, and you can go home.
Probably not, considering if Barron dies, there's a massive chain of events that will be affected, and Jake may never even be conceived. Pretty sure he's not thinking fourth dimensionally. Luckily for the secrecy of the peculiars, no one is around to see this previously sunken ship docking.
This can't be it, can it?
Loop entrances can be anywhere.
Holy balls, Miss Avocet sucked at Yimbrine. Not only is the loop entrance in plain sight, but the loop itself is at a goddamn crowded amusement park that just opened. Was she trying to get caught? Cocksucking shitballs. The fact that these skeletons were perfectly placed in the dining room is the only way Enoch's ability could be used, and it bullshit. Dumbass muggles stand around looking at the enormous, probably dangerous creatures instead of getting the out of the way. These hollows were previously shown to be the most dangerous things in the world, but are now reduced to clunky set pieces waving their arms around in the final fight, because we need to see more of this remastered clip from Jason and the Argonauts.
Sorry to interrupt.
Olive is able to set huge fires with her touch, but only lightly ignites Barron's coat. Rather than immediately assault you with his bowling pin, hang on while I find a random viable heart and make a minion out of this animatronic elephant that will become slowly sentient.
Everlasting life for me!
Jesus, I think Samuel L. Jackson now charges by the exclamation. Let me say, for what seems like the 1,452nd time since I started watching this final act, why didn't they do that at the beginning of this fight? 10 extra sins for all the times they should have done something sooner. Rather than shooting another airload at Barron, Emma runs away, so we can have a final unnecessary conflict. Sudden hatchet hand is sudden, and here we are, with only our wits and our will to sustain us. When you signed up for this movie, did you really think the finale would be about literal birds being let out of their cages? Where the f*** did the police go? They were just investigating all the mayhem a few minutes ago. I know it feels like the last scene took forever, but it wasn't that long. These assholes are seriously derelict in their duty. Wait, Jake was in England when the loop closed. If his grandpa didn't die and Baron Dr. Golan didn't exist, there would be no reason for his trip overseas. So how the f*** did he get all the way back to Florida? Okay, did we establish whether or not Abe had a relationship with Emma? It's strongly implied he did. So not only should it be weird that Jake's hooking up with his grandpa's ex-girlfriend, it should be extra weird for Emma to use Jake as her sloppy seconds.
Tell me your sins, my son.
I would like to have seen Montana.
Can you tell me a story?
When I was in prison, second time, no, third stretch, yeah. There was this screw what really had it in for me, and that geezer was top of my list. I could have gone up behind him and snapped his f***ing neck, but I left him.
I see dead people.
Or baby squirrel.
And we'd have to send away for some special, really tiny instruments.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Come play with us, Daddy. Forever. It is 1943.
September the 3rd, 1943.
All day, every day.
I wake up every day right here